Continuing our reading in Abraham Hannibal and the Battle for the Throne by Francis Summers Cox. Today is chapter 15. King Charles moves closer, and the date is August to September, the year 1707. Much though Peter adored St. Petersburg, he could not stay there forever. It seemed as if the Tsar, checking on his huge kingdom, was never going to stay still. Now he was heading southwest toward Warsaw in Poland. They were like a little team, the Tsar, one of his favorite generals, some other army officers, a few ordinary soldiers, servants, officials, and Abraham. The Swedes were camped to the west of them, and Peter had news that they were getting themselves ready to move toward Russia and real war, maybe planning to hammer at the gates of Moscow, as Peter always said they wanted to do. Or maybe, instead, to turn north and attack St. Petersburg, Peter's own city, built on land he had snatched from the Swedes in the first place. This was when Abraham learnt of a new weapon he had never heard of before. Peter explained it to him one night in a little country inn. "What we do, boy, is tempt them on. Charles is a stubborn lad. He doesn't give up easily. Our army tempts them on eastward, across the wide empty plains of Poland and western Russia, harassing them at the edges, but never letting them get at us in a big stand-up battle. This way, we wear them out little by little and don't risk our army. Meanwhile, they're getting further and further from home and friends and from their supplies. And then we really hit them. Scorched earth, my boy." Abraham looked puzzled. "We burn the land ahead of them, all around them," explained Peter. "No crops in the fields, no harvest in the barns, not a cow, not a sheep, not a pig, not even a chicken. Whichever way they turn, starvation. We poison the wells, destroy the roads, the bridges, the towns, anything that could be useful to them." "But what about the farmers and the people in the villages and the towns? What happens to them?" Peter shrugged. "They take their chance. It's war after all." And sure enough, soon afterward, Peter sent off horsemen to scorch the wide farmlands and forests of Poland, so that to their west, between them and the Swedes, all that Abraham could see was the red glow of the burning countryside and thick clouds of black smoke swirling up into the sky. They spent a month in Warsaw, the capital of Poland, where Peter was trying to get people on his side against King Charles of the Swedes. Here the giant Tsar showed that he wasn't superhuman after all, and collapsed from a fever. Abraham had never seen him so depressed and discouraged, and it was all made worse by some news from the furthest limits of the Tsar's empire. Abraham was at the Tsar's bedside when the messenger arrived. The Tsar read the letter, hit his head with his hand, and groaned. "Oh, the Muslims in the far east of our empire are rising up against us. So are the bandits on the river Don. Oh, the whole Russian army has been wiped out." He sat up in bed and shouted out widely, "How can we fight in 3 places at once? How can I lead 3 armies? Are all my hopes for Russia to come to nothing?" And he collapsed on his pillow, twitching and panting, while Abraham rushed to get him water. That's the end of chapter 15.